So I am Chase Knight, excited to be here from Brooklyn, New York, and we are excited to have you. We're going to be talking about restaurant benefits today, how to retain and attract talent while keeping costs in check. I have a wonderful group of panelists that will be introducing themselves in a second. The goal today would be to get one thing, a strategy, a tip, an action item that you want to roll out from this wealth of knowledge we have here. So with that, benefits are taking center stage, especially in this industry. The recent report by DoorDash, the impact of benefits on recruitment and retention in the restaurant industry, said 38% of restaurant employees would take less pay for better health benefits, and 24% would take less pay for better training. Pretty remarkable stat. Earlier today, we heard from Chris announcing the Merchant Benefit Program, which has negotiated discounts on healthcare, on training for all DoorDash merchant partners, and Sesame is proud to be a part of that platform. So without further ado, we're excited to talk to our panelists about what we can do every day to make things better for our workers, support them in an inclusive culture. So today we have three wonderful speakers. I will let them introduce themselves one at a time, starting with Queenie.
I am Queenie Reed. My husband and I own Poppy and Rose right up the street, and Poppy and Seed in Anaheim, and we also own a high-end catering company called Root of All Food.
My name is Othon Velasco, one of the co-founders of No Us Without ULA. It's a 501c3 that provides food security for initially back-of-house workers in Los Angeles during the pandemic.
And I'm Akira Kudo, and I founded Combi with my partner Nick, and we just have 2 restaurants here.
Great. So as you guys can tell, we have a wealth of knowledge here to ask a bunch of questions for, and then at the end, if we have time, we'll do a quick Q&A, and hopefully this is helpful for everyone. So let's get started. So this is for all of you. Restaurants have always faced hiring, staffing, retaining talent as a top issue. The Bureau of Labor stats say that the industry is about 600,000 employees short of the pre-pandemic staffing levels. So if you could each speak about what it is you do today, whether it's formal benefits or sort of off-the-job training for your staff to try and attract and retain them, that'd be really helpful.
Well, I mean, for us at Poppy and Rose and Poppy and Seed and Root of All Food, during the pandemic, we really had to become creative. I know all of us kind of, suffered from just the throw-in of people who were just looking for jobs, right? They weren't really looking to stay around or looking for anything new because a lot of people were in mental crisis. And so my husband and I really tried to, as soon as the pandemic hit, to make sure that we were taking care of our employees as far as anything that they needed. If anything fell short, we were there to support them and anything like that. But now that we've moved past the pandemic and we're starting to see the labor force actually come back, right? We're starting to be able to hire actually qualified general managers and things like that. We have to do things and become creative. Now, we're not Amazon, we're not McDonald's. So we don't have things that can, we can't offer an extremely 100% full benefit package, right? So we had to start looking at our employees as human beings, right? So what are the things that are important to us? We worked for people back in the day. What were the things that were important to us? And the things that were important to us is one is treating them like humans, a happy work-life balance, right? That really costs nothing from us. As long as we're promoting that and making sure that, you have things that you want to do when you're not here, you are a person. As long as you're operating as a full human being, then that it 100% benefits our company. So we started looking at how can we kind of do and create an employee retention program. So we started doing employee building things, we would take them to Dodgers games and things like that to help build camaraderie, right? Because a lot of times even there's this divide between the front and the back of the house. It's toxic. So you want to try to work to kind of blend that. And when people love where they work and they're happy and they bought into the brand and they feel like they're seen and that their owners owners and the people who are employing them actually can see them and think about what is good for them as a person. That's what we're focusing on. We're focusing on internal marketing, making sure that our brand is feeding the soul, but we also need to feed the soul of our employees. And so that's something that we have really tried to build. It's difficult because, you have high turnover. And so now you're investing into this person and the person leaves, and it hurts our feelings because it hurts mine. But at the same time, right, you understand what I'm saying? It hurts my feelings. I take it personally, doggone it. But at the same time, the people who are there, and you can pinpoint your employees that want to be there. And those are employees that we need to figure out what they need. And a lot of times they need mental health. They need to feel like they have a work-life balance and they're able to be a human being. When we interview, the first thing that I ask them, I turn their resume over and I say, well, who are you outside of here? Because I'm an owner, but I'm also a singer. I'm a writer. I'm a mother. I love food is my love language, so I like to eat food, not just, make it for everyone else. And I think that when we took that approach, we started to see our retention and then just the activation of our employees being actively involved in what we're doing.
I mean, for my business partner and I, it was a little bit different because when we started the nonprofit, all of our friends helped us directly as volunteers. So we weren't getting paid ourselves. We didn't have a budget to pay a staff, but we had a wealth of knowledge from our friends that were chefs, managers, brand advocates. So when everyone volunteered with us, we fought for them and got them salaries. But the biggest part for retention for us, because this is the height of COVID when we couldn't find N95s and, right, stranger danger. I mean, now we're shaking hands, and no one was shaking hands 2 years ago. So what we allowed our friends to do was to basically whatever they wanted to do in the organization. For example, our director of operations, Edwin Rodriguez, he started with us working at Everson Royce Bar as a food runner, 7 years ago. And he runs operations because he was just given the chance. He always had the aptitude and the work ethic. He just needed someone to allow him to shine. So I think for us as a nonprofit, the best way for us to retain people is to hear what do you want to do? What do you want to use this time that you're here with us for to better yourself, and so that you can go get another job that would, the experience would just be a wealth of benefit for them.
I think for us, the process of retaining employees started before we opened. So Nick and I worked in a lot of intense fine dining restaurants, and that was not great. So we wanted to open a daytime restaurant, and we ended up in LA. So we figured out how we want to provide health insurance. We want to make sure it's a 5-day work week with a weekend, all those things. And we were pretty arrogant. We thought we'd be able to do it right away. And we opened in October 2018. And it took 18 months to finally get to the point where we could offer health insurance. I think that's the main thing we wanted to accomplish. And it wasn't like a financial thing. It was just literally navigating the health insurance system, and we had to find the right broker to do that for us. And we finally got that done. I think that's a main driver of people staying with us. But that coupled with having a consistent schedule and a lot of the things you guys mentioned, that they're respected at work. No one's yelling at them, and they're not expected to do more work outside of what they're been told that they're going to be doing. I think they're pretty basic things that most companies outside of restaurants do. We try to kind of adopt and figure out how to put them into our company. So a lot of it is just not thinking of it as a restaurant and trying to do it without the resources of a tech company or even a Walmart. So I think those are the things we look at, but definitely the main thing is having health insurance available. And now I think this year we've had to put in a 401k. Just as you guys know, it's just been required for any company above 4 people. So we're figuring that out, see if it's something that helps with retention, but I'm not sure yet. But yeah.
Akira, and you next, Queenie. Do you feel like now versus 5 years ago, there's more of an expectation or a demand from employees to have offerings like that? Do you think the trends have changed? I mean, we've heard of quiet quitting. We've heard of kind of everyone relocating during COVID. So it's been kind of a crazy few years here, have you seen any trends there in terms of what employees expect from you?
I don't know. I think people expect more time to themselves. I don't necessarily think it's like a financial thing. It's like for us, we have a daytime operation, so we can't necessarily pay the most, but we also tell them like you're going to get out at 4:30. So like if you want to make more money, you will probably have to go work at a dinner restaurant that has liquor. Like that's just kind of the trade-off. So we leverage that, and like we stand behind that, and we pretty much the way we design the restaurant, there's no front and back house. So it's just like this is the level you're at, this is your salary. So I think we try to create this level of transparency where it's like this is what you're going to get paid. It's not like this negotiation. So I think for us, we just kind of put that all out there initially, and we spend a lot of time on hiring instead of just like hiring people and then dealing with the after effects. And you know, we're still completely wrong sometimes, and you know, they're human beings. So like we're not great at judging people all the time.
Yep. But it sounds like maybe the separation of work and personal, the time, the soft benefits more than the financial. What
Totally.
About you, Queenie?
Yeah, to piggyback off of what he's saying, I think what happened during the pandemic is that people woke up and they started enjoying life, and they started understanding how we should live life. The way that we were living life before the pandemic was wrong. Like overworking yourself, it's like it's ridiculous for us to look at people and say, I need for you to work 80 hours, but I need for you to be at the top of your game. That doesn't make any sense. And so like he's right. I think people are now, they're not so much demanding more from us, they're demanding more for themselves. And we're falling short in a lot of those areas of actually creating full, whole human beings and making sure that they're able to have a productive life. So like with us, we're starting to see that because we have a daytime and a nighttime. They're both opposite of each other. And so when we were looking for a general manager, we were running into so many difficulties with the daytime. So then I started to shift our focus. I need to look for, new parents, because you want to be at home with your kids in the nighttime. So I had to start thinking about like, okay, what is going to be important to the GM that works here? And the important thing is that they're able to go home, eat with their spouses, have a healthy marriage and a healthy relationship with their children. And then on the other side, with the people that work in the evening, what they want is to have 2 days off consecutively. Right? Because they want to feel like, you're doing laundry on one day and then you got to work the next day and then you have another day off, and it's like you don't have 2 consecutive days off. So I think that they're just demanding more for them to be a full human being and to get back to what they were enjoying during the pandemic. And I think the key is that collectively on each side, we have to figure out what that balance is, right? It can't be just the employee is demanding all these things, but they don't feel that they have to reciprocate anything. And I think we need to get back to the we need each other type of thinking. Right now, it's very employee forward and employee based. And because they don't understand the full sector and the full how you run a company, it kind of gets a little bit uneasy. But I think for the most part, they're looking for things that bring them joy and make them happy.
Yep. Anything to add, Athon, on the?
I just think that what we've noticed is that, for a long time, operators wanted you to like take ownership. They wanted employees to be empowered to act like this is my place, but they weren't paid as the same as owners. So I think it's important to respect them and to let them know that yes, their input is valued, but also not to expect them to work outside of their shifts or their days. If something comes up outside of no one wants to be contacted at, whether you work at night at 9 in the morning or if you work in the day at 9 o'clock at night. It's like maybe some things can wait, or as an owner, you figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, let's talk about input. So obviously, employees of a restaurant or any company have suggestions, things to say, feedback for you all. How do you, is there a formal process you have for getting input? Are you looking to your general managers for like a general trend? And how are you also kind of filtering it, because you can't be everything to every employee, right? But you want to be handling the important input you're hearing over and over again. Any thoughts or tips on how you all do that?
For my mental health's sake, I need to filter it. So because it's our company, It's mine and my husband's baby. This is what we do. So we take it very personally. And just like I had to cut off the Yelp reviews, honey, I have to monitor kind of what I'm hearing, because then when I hear it all from them, I want to fix it all. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I can fix it all and that it's the right thing to do, but it also weighs on my mental health. So like for my general manager, because we're very active and we're very accessible to all of our employees. And I think that what we're learning, and as we're growing and going into like a third brick and mortar, I think that we're learning that we have to minimize the access to us too. So like we want to hear all of it, but it needs to come from the general manager, so the general manager can kind of filter out what are the necessary things that we need to be focusing on to make sure that our employees are feeling heard.
Yep. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's important to listen to most people, but there are certainly terrible ideas that people have that you just have to tell them, like, this is not possible. Like, this is unrealistic. Like, we can't do this.
Yeah.
And I think if you're honest with people, it's kind of the most important thing we've noticed. As long as you're transparent and not just like, this is stupid, but like you just explain like, okay, we can't afford to do that for these reasons or whatever it is, I think they're much more understanding. And I think that's kind of where we land.
Yep, makes sense. So this question's for you, Queenie. You talked a little bit about how some of the things you can do for your employees are low cost, like respect them as people, their time outside of work. How have you controlled cost for benefits for them thus far, to make sure you don't promise more than you can afford to give them?
Well, I mean, like, we're constantly looking at, our revenue and expenses. I'm a controller, so I'm constantly in the books. My husband happens to be an actually financially sound chef, because that's where a lot of the arguments happen, for the most part. But we're constantly looking at, like, as long as it's important to us, right? If something is important to you, you'll figure it out. You'll find a way. And so, like, we were looking at workers' comp, and workers' comp was killing us. It was a lot. And we decided to go with a PEO. And the PEO allowed us to save across our 3 brands that we have right now. We saved $198,000. And so now with that $198,000, we can start really looking into all of the other things that we want to do. Like, for instance, offering medical benefits not only to our managers, but also to our lower level employees so that they feel whole. Even to our part-time to try to subsidize something. But at the same time, we're constantly scrubbing because it's important to us. And as long as it's important to us, we're going to constantly find ways to shave money. Like, his job is to make sure that he's making sure we're making revenue. My job is to make sure that I'm scrubbing the expenses and that I'm constantly always looking for shortfall or to find somewhere where I can add a benefit. Right? And so the first one that we want to do is health benefits. We already have the employee retention. We already have the 401k because we have to now. We're making sure that we're keeping up and paying above minimum wage. That's another one. Not just pay the minimum, but pay above that. Making sure that everything is fair. But then we also kind of subsidize and give them, like, because since we have a restaurant that works during the day, we want our employees to also have one job. So we kind of we have the catering company. That's another stream of revenue for them because they can work with us for the catering company, and then we add the catering company's revenue in to add benefits across. Because catering is a very, very good revenue stream to create, to add revenue, to have something to offer benefits to your employees. You have to get creative, and you just have to be aware. I think a lot of people think that they don't have the money to do it, and it's just because they're not paying attention to their books.
That's a lot to consider, though. That you guys are pointing out, both kind of financially and then just from an awareness perspective. I want to start with Akira here because you mentioned in a former life having some experiences. So can you talk about what those experiences were like, and then how to avoid having that culture now? Or alternatively, can you avoid having that culture and still run a Michelin star restaurant?
First of all, that show is very triggering. Chris is a good friend of mine, and he did a good job. But I don't know if you can run that type of restaurant in Los Angeles now. I think people will just leave. Like, I don't think people want to be treated that way anymore.
sue you.
And you shouldn't treat people that way. Like, I worked in a bunch of restaurants where that was just normal, and like you're in your 20s and you're like, all right, this is New York. Everyone's on salary, like fine. The flip side is you do learn a lot of skills in a short amount of time, but you have to be the type of person that can take that kind of abuse. I don't think you should inflict that upon people. Like, it's not healthy. I think we can all agree on that. And it's not difficult to not scream at someone. Like, I don't like that, like, people get described, like chefs get described as like they're so passionate, and you're like, they're just angry. They're assholes. Like, it's okay. Like, you can just tell people what they are. Like, you can't just change the description. So like for us, it's like we just talk to people like they're human beings. I don't think that's difficult, and we just make sure that their schedules are normal, and we ignore them outside of work. Like,
Yeah. Would you say, as a non-restaurateur myself, would you say though that was a pretty accurate depiction of the way restaurants can be in the back?
I think in a certain time period, yeah. I mean, 5-10 years ago, I think that's completely normal way of running a restaurant if you wanted to achieve certain things. And a lot of people who get into restaurants that's the only way they know how to behave. So it's like, it has nothing really to do with the restaurant. It's just like people gravitate towards that kind of business back in the day for work. And
Wow. Well, kudos to you for changing that. And I think it sounds like the employees demand it. So we're moving in the right direction. Okay, this question's for Othone. You co-founded Know Us Without You LA. A highly impactful local nonprofit, provides food security for undocumented workers. Can you talk about what inspired you and your partner to create the non-for-profit, and then how it's evolved over the last few years?
It just came out of necessity. It was a reaction. We had talked about it before. We had just soft opened a restaurant in Little Osaka in Sawtell, and we had hired back of the house staff, front of the house staff. Well, when we were getting asked questions like, how long is this shutdown going to last? When can I come back to work? And we didn't have these answers. That was one thing. But when literally people started telling us that they didn't know how they were going to feed their families, and it's not just a dishwasher or like a line cook. These are people that we had worked with for years that we knew. We knew their families, their kids' names. It just triggered something in us to like, okay, well, we're going to go buy groceries, and using our own money. It wasn't like this grand plan. So it was just coming from a place of what can we do to help right now? And then, speaking to our friends that are chefs and restaurateurs and cleaning out people's walk-ins and dry goods and building off of that, making it grow from just like our family and friends supporting us to treat it like a business, and applying for an LLC, getting set up financially, and at the end of the day, it's a business. Money comes in and money goes out to pay bills. So all the love and goodness in the world is not gonna stop bills from needing to be paid. So it's a respect on both levels that you need to be, someone who cares about taking care of other people. But also you have to be financially sound so that it is sustainable. And we've pivoted so many times over the last, 3 years now. We're closer to like our 4th year than we are our 1st month. And just listening to people that are smarter than us, and taking people's input and asking for help when we need it. That's how it's changed.
Very well said. So I think we have a couple minutes now for questions, Q&A. I think if you guys have thoughts, anything top of mind ranging from the topics we've talked about, happy to take anything from you. There's somebody back there.
I was curious your thoughts on the new law that's coming into effect where you have to disclose the wages that everybody's earning. Yeah. Still learning myself about exactly how it's going to go down. I just wondered what you think about that and how you plan to handle that.
That is a good question, because I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I have mixed emotions about it. I do. I understand the reason for it, But at the same time, I think that it's gonna add, well, why am I not getting paid? And you really have to go like, well, technically you're not qualified, okay? Like you suck in these areas. I mean, let's not say suck.
Right.
I mean, you're just not qualified. And the reason why this person is making this amount of money is because they're qualified. And so I think, like, I totally understand the reasoning behind it, but I think that it's going to cause a wage war. I think that people are going to start really bidding up, and they don't have the experience and they don't have the capabilities to actually do that job for what it's worth. And so that's kind of like, I mean, a lot of stuff has been thrown at us, and we kind of just got to go with it. I don't know how far to lean into it. I don't know if it's going to like backfire or whatnot, but I think that that's what's going to happen. I think that people are going to be like, well, they're making $80,000 as the GM, and I should be making $75,000 as the host. And it's like, okay, this is not the same. Right. This is not the same. The GM has to do X, Y, and Z, and you're not qualified to do that. It's not the same. And so I think that that's what's going to happen. And I think that we should just buckle in and prepare for the ride.
Akira, any thoughts?
I think it's a slightly different for restaurants. The salary gap is not as high as like a tech company and other companies where you're like, it's gonna be a huge gap. But like first, like, it's gonna be like $25 or $27. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, you'll have those conversations honestly. Like, just like you're not ready to make 27 yet. Like, that's not where you're at. Like for us, we just take a much safer road. We just hire everyone like as a manager at this pay rate. Like, that's just easier for us. But I haven't thought about it too much. I think when it goes into effect, I'm sure there will be unintended consequences that no one has thought through. So we'll see what happens, but it's just another regulation that California wants to pretend like it's free market. But it isn't. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
One of the things that struck me today, spending some time, is number one, how much these folks care about the people that work in their restaurants. There's no discussion of just how much money the restaurants are making. And two, sort of organically finding other people backstage that are part of committees and talking about getting involved and working together to figure out how to run their businesses more effectively. It's been really cool to watch as someone who is in kind of an unrelated field. Any other questions? Yep.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm wondering.
Hello.
So this is a great topic. How to attract and retain workers. But in my mind, as you all were talking, I was thinking about, for me, this piece is important, but also how to attract and retain good workers while keeping your costs down. So I guess my question is, if you all can give some insight and advice on that, how to retain good workers, competent workers, loyal workers, trustworthy workers, and also what you all think about when we talk about dream team employers and just the team in general. Is it more important to attract and retain those workers while keeping the costs down? Or if you had to say, these are the people I really rock with, it's the dream team and having to pay a little bit more, which one would you pick?
I'm gonna pay more, and I'm gonna figure out how to pay more. My dream team is important to me because that allows me to do things like this, right? I don't have to be that core team protects my husband and I, right? And that is important. And the reality is that you're gonna have to pay for talent. So you have to. The whole thing is that it's, and what we're technically talking about is financial literacy, right? It's like really looking at your books and scrubbing, do I need this? Can I get a better rate here? Also binding together. If you have 3 different purveyors or vendors, you need to tell them, like, if you want me to keep coming over here, we have to start bargaining and starting to figure out how to get our costs down, right? But at the same time, like, I had to think about that. I was like, I only want to pay this much for a GM. And that's exactly what I was getting. That much, which didn't work for me. So my husband and I, we sat down and we're like, okay, listen, we're gonna have to increase here, here, and here. That's important. good people cost. And then if you already have good people that are already on your team, you need to be raising them. But a lot of times, like for the lower level employees, for me, it's that they want to be seen. It means the world to them when we walk in, we say hi and tell them that I see you and you're doing a fantastic job. They sold. And we mean it, you know, or we'll walk up and we're generous. So we'll just say, hey, I saw that you've been doing a good job. Here's an extra $100. Now, mind you, we might think about like $100, but to them, that $100 is the world. So it's like you have to, and then finding good people is hard. Like you have to kind of go off your discernment, how they make you feel, and then balance that with, are they capable? Right? Because it's hard. Like he said, we don't get it right all the time. I fail all the time, and it hurts my feelings. I'm not going to lie, because I was like, I thought you was something, and you're not. But then now we're here, and I'm looking again, right? But after going through that so many different times, I found the right one. And did I have to pay for it? I did, but we're finding the right ones. But now people are willing to come back and actually work, but it's going to be at a cost. It's going to be at a cost of us changing our industry. It might be at a cost of us having to raise our prices, and it might be at a cost of us of having to pay just a little bit more. But we're moving in the right direction, which is important, and we're getting there. We're eating out now. We're starting to have better service. Everybody's starting to see the turnaround. So yeah, you can get good employees. You're gonna have to pay for them, and it might hurt, but in the long run, it's gonna make you more money.
This has been wonderful. I want to thank you three. I think you were candid and had some great insights for us. We'll be around in the back the rest of the day to talk to anyone who's interested, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.